that folks use. Yeah, and also poorly grown foods. It's best if we can to eat the organic foods because whether from the flesh, the meat that's eaten, whether it's chicken and things like that, it's not grown on the farm anymore. You know, most chickens, their whole lives they live in a cage about as big, literally, as this sheet of paper. They can't turn around. They're pumped with the hormones and the steroids, and we wonder why, you know, our 9 and 10-year-olds are looking like 14 and 15-year-olds now. You know, young girls are starting their cycle at 8 and 9 years old. Well, I know a lot of young, you know, as I speak to elders, they say they didn't get their cycles, they were 15, 16. And now these young ladies are getting it when they're like 9 and 10. And so, and that all this because of the unregulated lifestyle, these different foods, and just an unnatural way of being. You know, I said my folks came up here from the South. A lot of folks come here from the islands and things like that. And when they come to the city, they lose a lot of that old-time stuff and those old ways that we had growing up. Like, I know folks used to take a cleanser all the time, whether it's castor oil or I know the senna, the cerasee. Down south they use the I see the plant, but it slips my mind right now. You know, these nasty brews that, you know, cleans you out. And as folks got older, they said, I'm not doing that anymore. And they wonder why, you know, the parents are burying the children now. Because the parents are still living the old ways. You know, having them herbs shipped here and having the stuff sitting here and taking that castor oil and that senna and them little nasty barks and brews, all the stuff that I prepare. And all that stuff also helps to strengthen up the lungs, help to strengthen up the heart, help to strengthen up the kidneys, the intestine, clean you out. You know, it's just like a land vessel, or folks always say a car. You know, every 3 months, you have to take that to get the oil changed, to change the filter, to look under the hood. At least once a year, you have to take it and get inspected, or 2 years, however it is, to get inspected. Folks wash it, flush it out. And when I ask them what they do for themselves, they actually treat that better than they do them. You'll see men out there polishing the car every week, you know, putting all sorts of fluids in, you know, and flushing it out, and that thing will run forever. But their body is breaking down. And then what's offered to them by the medical doctor, oftentimes in terms of the pharmaceutical drugs, are some of those same chemicals that we put in the car. You know, I've heard that some of the foods out here contain some of the same ingredients that are in like antifreeze and different fluids and things like that. Where our bodies are meant to take advantage of the foods that grow from the earth because we're natural beings. And so what's natural is what is going to naturally help us to stay strong and to survive and live as long as we can to fulfill our life purpose. Again, with the sleep, you know, you could go to, you know, wake up and go to bed at regular hours. Don't fall asleep with the television on, you know, because there are parts of our brain that actually activate and renew itself in complete darkness. That's why when it's dark at night, there are parts of our brain dealing with the melatonin, and it kicks in at specific hours of the night, and it needs to be pitch black, because when the sun is out, that part of our brain is turned off, because we have to be active. And while we're active, you know, doing everything we're doing during the day, that's for one part of the brain, but when the sun goes down, that activates another aspect of the brain. And so when we sleep with the TV on, sleep with the lights on, it doesn't give out that part of the brain to renew, because if it's still light, somewhere in the mind it's still thinking it's daylight, even though it knows it's night, but thinking it's daylight. And so the body is in a way confused and does not renew itself. And so one of the ways we have to do when we sleep, try to sleep with the blinds down. Try to remember to turn the television off. Remember to turn the lights out. Even small lights. You know, you want to have it as black as possible and dark as possible, because that activates a part of the brain which actually helps our bodies to renew ourselves and stay young. So right now we're in the spring season. Also dealing with each of the different organs of our body. Each organs of our body are actually more active during different seasons of the year. And so dealing with the spring season deals with the energy of the liver. Just like, and the liver, excuse me, is one of the main organs of detoxification and cleansing in the body. So just like, one of the things we do is spring cleaning for the for your house. You go through all your old drawers and break everything down. We have to do the same thing with the energy of our liver. And so different herbs like the dandelion, actually probably some herbs that you may think of weeds did right in the backyard, like dandelion, burdock, red clover, any of the herbs that end with dock, burdock, yellow dock, any of those dock herbs are very good for cleansing the liver. Also, some of the herbs you may know from back home, those cleansing bitter herbs like the cerasee, because I'm from the south, so I just know a few of them, but you all know what I'm talking about. I can see we have, some old school in here, so, please pass the information and force it on the young folks, just like it was forced on you when you were younger, and learn to do now, and also please speak to the elders, because they have a lot of wisdom and a lot of stuff that, that can go unappreciated sometimes. And so please, while everyone is still here, get all of that so we can keep our traditions alive and with every generation. I know some of the things that folks used to do when they were younger also was right before going back to school in the autumn, used to give them all of those nasty herbs and, bitter herbs to cleanse you out from all of that fruit and junk and everything you ate during the summer. Yeah, clean all them worms out and parasites and all of that stuff. And, I have folks that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s that, grew up here and didn't, and weren't introduced to that have never done a cleanse in their whole life. So they're walking around with 30, 40, that's your average person out here, working around with 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of waste that they never cleaned out. Think if you never cleaned the bathroom, or if you never cleaned off the stove, or if you never took the car for a checkup, how much gunk would be inside of it. And when you wash dishes, you can see sometimes, depending on what you ate, how hard some of that stuff is to clean. And that stuff is in our delicate bodies, our flesh. This is flesh and bone, not stainless steel and iron, And we work to, be it like iron, and we can act hard as iron, but, we're basic flesh and bone, and so we have to use those natural things, those natural foods, natural herbs to clean us out and strengthen us out. And so with the energy of the spring, this is a time of renewal. Just like the bears go into hibernation in the wintertime, our bodies, we go into hibernation, and sometimes we go in the cold months of the winter, and we may meditate on what we want to do in the next year. I don't know where these other folks got starting the year off right in the middle of the winter, but this is the springtime. This is when things rise back up out the ground. This is actually the new year, the spring, the real, actual new year. The other new year that's celebrated, that's something fiscal and dealing with, these other folks and their economics. But when you look at the true new year, nature's new year, when things are actually renewed. Like if you look out now, if you have any tulips or any like bulb type flowers that you may just leave in the ground, now those leaves are starting to push back up. All the trees, they're flowering again, and pushing all that pollen in the air, and all sorts of things. So now with our bodies also, this is a natural time of renewal, of revitalization. So in our lives, this is a time, again, in our homes to clean out our homes of all the old stuff. Go through